afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, everybody. I am the Deputy Attorney General here, and we have Miss Ethel Branch also online. We're so excited for this episode, and apologize for the AG because her internet's a little spotty, so she may be jumping in, and if we'll play it by ear. If not, then I'll go ahead and take over the session. But so it looks like you have some good internet right now, AG. Do you want to say hello and get things started?
Sure. Thanks so much, Deputy. She Ethel Branch Yansha, Bean Patwani Nishlin, Nakai Bashes Chin, Sit Najuni Dashache, Ado Nakai Dashanella. And she Deneba Washington, Be Gadita Itso, Shinanish. And I'm the nation's 13th Attorney General. Previously served as the 11th Attorney General, and I'm very happy to be joining today. Very pleased to be here with Deputy. We rarely get the treat of having her on Lunch and Learn, so it's wonderful to have her here with us today. And then also, of course, to have our wonderful interns. We had an awesome luncheon for them, and I need to share photos from that, and where the folks here at DOJ got to meet them. And they're just a wonderful, wonderful bunch of young folks who want to make a difference in the world, particularly when it comes to Navajo law and sovereignty and Indian law. So we're just so honored and excited to have them here with us. But let's see. So thanks everyone for tuning in, and I hope that you'll learn more about our interns and the work that young people can do here at the Department of Justice as interns or as junior attorneys as well. So thank you, Deputy.
Great. Thank you, AG. I'm going to go ahead and let's get started on the interns because we do have 10 of them. So giving them a little bit of 3 minutes each to kind of share with us what they're working on at their prospective units. The first one we'll go ahead and start with is Max. Max Vaughn, he is a rising 3L at the University of Utah, Quigley College of Law. He grew up outside of Atlanta, Georgia, but moved out west for law school. Prior to interning with the Navajo Nation, he worked for a law firm in Salt Lake City doing immigration interest and law and disability law center of Utah and the Southern Utah Wilderness Alliance. Max is interested in environmental and natural resource law and is currently working within the Natural Resource Unit. Go ahead, Max. Let us go ahead and introduce what you're working on with the unit right now.
Yeah, so I think right now, kind of one of the big things I've been working on is a petition for rulemaking with the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission. I think the goal of the petition is kind of to get them to settle on some rules that would help promote tribal sovereignty. That way that the nation is consulted from the very beginning of energy projects that are potentially going to get permitted by the federal government. And so that's kind of what I've been spending a lot of time on, is writing that out and trying to see where the rules could change to help promote the Navajo Nation's interests.
Well, great. I definitely appreciate what you're working on. And then we'll go ahead and introduce Monique. Monique is Sosie. She's from Crystal, New Mexico. She grew up on the Navajo Nation her entire life until she attended Fort Lewis College. She has obtained a bachelor's degree in political science with a double minor in Native American Indigenous Studies and sociology. And she'll be entering in her second year of law school at the Arizona State University. So she's did a law clerk this summer. She's working here at the Department of Justice. We're excited to have her here. She's currently working at the chapter unit. And Monique, go ahead and let us know what you're working on with the chapter unit.
Monique Sosie I'm currently working on how to deal with disrespectful conduct by elected officials and public employees. So as Deputy AG mentioned, I'm working with the chapter unit. So I've been researching city ordinances and how they implemented bullying provisions within their city manuals for personnel. And so I've been comparing that with our current law regarding the Local Governance Act for certified and non-certified chapters on the Navajo Nation, as well as looking at the personnel policies for certified and non-certified chapters. And so that's what I'm currently working on. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much for doing that work, Monique. It's very, very important work and definitely a tricky area to be legislating in and implementing law in. I know the nation has dealt with, we have a cyberbullying statute, as you know, and this is a challenging area, and that's, we have a lot of turmoil at the local government level and just in Navajo government, particularly with the advent of social media. And it's a great tool that's providing a lot more access to information and government. But of course, it can be misused as well to create confusion. And as you're researching bullying, it can be used as a tool for bullying, which is very unfortunate. But Monique, it's great to have you here. And Max, sorry I didn't get to talk to you before we switched over to Monique, but thank you for the work that you're doing, and very cool that you've worked with SUA in the past. And the FERC consultation and guidance and advocacy is very, very important, and we've seen some really cool returns on that work with respect to the pumped hydro storage facility applications, and FERC standing behind the nation and adopting the approach that we've asked them to do, which is to honor tribal sovereignty and make sure that a tribe that has actually signed off on a project before they seriously consider it for even their preliminary permit. So thanks for helping advance that work, Max, and we're going to have Monique teach you how to introduce yourself next time. All right, thank you guys.
I apologize. I just want to make sure that we're getting through all of the interns on there. So the next person thank you, Monique. Next person that we have up is Sydney. Sydney is from Stansbury Park, Utah, and just finished her first year of law school at the University of Utah. She is currently working in the Water Rights Department and has an interest in water and environmental law. She wanted to come work for the Navajo Nation because she was interested in learning about Colorado water law and helping the nation gain back its deserved water rights.
Yes, exactly. That's me. Sorry, I'm not going to introduce myself in Navajo yet. Haven't quite picked that up yet.
I work on that. You can't leave without learning that skill.
End of the summer goal. So water rights is going through a really exciting time right now. There's a lot going on. We are reaching settlements with New Mexico and Arizona and Utah, and all of those settlements are kind of at different stages in the process. And we've gotten to see a little bit with all of those. We've gotten to go up to some public meetings in Monument Valley for to tell the public about what's happening in the Utah settlement. But most of our work has been related to the Arizona settlement. And at this point, we're waiting for the federal stuff to take off. So we've been doing a lot of detailed work, just documenting past and present water uses. So it's pretty interesting stuff. Besides that, we worked on an amicus brief that we submitted to the New Mexico Supreme Court related to the New Mexico rule of abandonment of water rights. And we've also reviewed some Arizona legislation that's currently up in the air for debate, I guess, to see how that would affect Navajo water users.
Before we have AG's comments on there, let me bring in Jordan, because she's also working on the same projects in the water rights. That way we can address them both at the same time, okay? So Jordan is from Cody, Wyoming, and she finished her second year of law school at the University of New Mexico School of Law in Albuquerque. She's very interested in intersection between the environmental law and Indian law, and would like to specialize in tribal water rights. She wanted to work for the Navajo Nation, to work directly with the water settlement and gain a deeper understanding of the Navajo Nation and its needs as well as its strengths. So thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah, Ajay, that's all I know, but I can say hello.
That's pretty good. That's really a good pronunciation, actually. Very proud of you.
Thank you. I'm Jordan. As Sydney mentioned, she's talked about a lot of the projects we've worked on. We've also, a lot of our job has just been kind of working on like the little details as we go through this, like kind of supporting it as they hope to present this at the federal level soon. My own personal projects I've been working on, as well as I've been working closely with the Coalition of Large Tribes, and I wrote a memo about them and what they do, and have done a lot of research about getting a letter of resolution or letter of support from them as we present this bill.
Awesome. Yeah, I think these are two of our interns. We're hearing from the AAGs that our interns don't want to move to the next unit because the work is so interesting and fun, and there's a lot going on in our water rights unit right now. I mean, definitely, if you're interested in tribal water law, there's no better place to be placed right now in terms of intern work or just lawyer work, really. So, wow, cool. Thank you guys. And I noticed you're both from Upper Basin states, so must be very, very insightful.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as interns, you know, they do get to, they sign confidentiality agreements. So they're like in the meetings with the lawyers and the technical teams. They're Navajo Nation employees. And so they're like very much, their pulse is very much, their fingers are on the pulse of what is actually happening in real time. So very exciting time. And I'm glad that Sydney, you had a chance to get out to Monument Valley. Jordan, hopefully we can sneak in some kind of a public meeting for you in the community as well.
I was there too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went up to Utah with them.
Oh, you were there. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect.
That was my second day.
Was Matt there or was it Dwight?
With Dwight. Yeah, it was a pretty great
Okay.
second day to go up and eat Navajo tacos in Monument Valley.
Yeah, Dwight is wonderful because he has the experience as a former council delegate. So he brings a really interesting perspective. And then, of course, I don't know if you guys have had a chance to work with Mac yet, but he's just a delightful human being. So, yeah.
Yes, they're both great. We love our team.
That's awesome. And yes, of course, your fearless leader, AAG, Espino. Yes, she's very good at juggling.
Well,
Okay,
great.
well, thank you guys so much for being with us. Yeah.
So we'll go ahead and move on to Paul. Paul Little Bear. He is a 3L with an MBA. He's a student at Washburn University. He's from Tulsa, Oklahoma, from the Absentee Shawnee tribe. His school interests is intellectual property, patent, business and corporate, securities and capital markets, and contracts. His plans for the future is he wants to do transactional work with the IP, which is the intellectual property, and M&A. And I'm going to have to ask Max to understand what M&A, due diligent corporate financing, and the intellectual property of traditional knowledge. So go ahead. Thank you, Paul. And actually, I have to put a little tidbit. This is Paul's second time applying. So I was so excited that he was interested in coming in for this year. He was very persistent. So thank you. Thank you, Paul.
Yate Hishjay. I am Paul, as the AG mentioned. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can hear.
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
we can hear you good.
Okay. So I'm with the litigation unit, and we have a lot of exciting things going on. One particular matter that I've been directly working on is the uranium matter. We have a company transporting uranium rock through the Navajo Nation. And
They
Navajo
will be.
Nation,
Potentially.
and Navajo Nation is a self-governing sovereign entity that can make its own rules and laws, and Navajo Nation has a uranium ban. So it's been interesting to watch this conflict between a company and another sovereign entity just kind of combat with each other. So that's something I've been working on recently.
Thank you. And as AG will
Great.
talk about, is that uranium is also very important. The concern of that, the history of that is something that has plagued the Navajo Nation. And I appreciate our leaders wanting to go ahead and take a stand on how we move forward on that. So, I'll let AG talk a little bit more regarding that too as well.
Yeah, that's not very transactional. But so hopefully your next placement will be with ECDU or TFU. Do you know what your next placement, which unit you're going next?
Tax and finance.
Mm-hmm.
Tax and finance. Okay. Oh, that's perfect. And actually, there will be a transaction potentially that you can work on. I actually started my practice as a transactional lawyer because I went to law school when we were losing cases like the Navajo Coal Trust case and the City of Sherrill decision came out. And so I just felt like being a litigator was a losing game for tribes. And my Indian law professor, George Skabeen, had a very dark view of the world. Bless his heart. And he said that the harmonizing theme in Indian law was that when it matters, the tribes lose. And it certainly seemed that way in the City of Sherrill decision and the Navajo breach of trust case. And we unfortunately continue to see that in a lot of cases in Indian law, where we should be winning based on the law or the treaty. We saw that in our recent Water Supreme Court case. But the judges, they pull these rules out and find ways to justify things when they think it's unfair for the tribes to win. And so it's a tough world. I don't know if it's any better now, but on the transactional front, I was really interested in that work because it was a way to build tribal sovereignty out to help finance ways for tribes to be better sovereigns. I had heard about this tribe, and I think it was like Menominee tribe or something, where they had a more highly functional criminal justice system to the extent that the county wanted to opt in to their system. And so I thought, wow, if we can finance better, judicial facilities and detention facilities and do our job better as a government than non-native governments, then maybe that's one way of getting non-Indians to opt into tribal sovereignty, or get those other sovereigns to enter into intergovernmental agreements with us to utilize our sovereignty and our role as a government. So that is still a possibility, I think, but unfortunately, a lot of the transactional work right now is, financing tribal casinos. And at the time I did, my law firm, Orrick, Harrington, and Sutcliffe, which if you want to do transactional work in Indian country, you should go work for the guys in Portland. They are amazing. They created tribal finance, and they actually created it with an aircraft financing for Navajo Nation. And they were a longtime bond counsel to the nation, and I was able to serve with them in that capacity and actually work on the judicial financings for Navajo Nation for our 4 facilities back in 2000. I think it was issued in 2010. Yeah.
I think
But
that was exciting.
the work is really, I just feel like a very highly paid secretary, to be honest. So, but if you have that desire and you love it, but I learned how to write contracts really well. And I'm actually using that in my water rights work now because, a settlement agreement is a contract. And it taught me how to work through copious amounts of material that is not always very exciting, and just have that to excellence that private work will teach you. So highly encourage you to explore law firms, Paul.
I think when you were working with Orrick is when I got reintroduced to you because I was serving on the investment committee at that time. So But with
Sure.
Paul, we went ahead and looked at some of the interests that they have, and his is litigation. But we also paired them with something that may be out of their comfort zone as something is what they're looking at. So we're looking forward to Paul, you working into a TFU and in the next 2 weeks, because you're almost done with your 4th week up here too.
This
So
is
thank
going to
you,
be
Paul.
such a fascinating time for you, Paul, because we're also in the midst of budget season, and like things are going to be like really firing on the budget process front when you go in there. So actually, you should just work for us. What have I been saying? What am I talking about going to the law?
He's a 3rd year. He is a 3rd year. So thank you, Paul. We appreciate you. So our next intern is Adrian. His Adrian Manny, and he's from St. Michael's, Arizona. He went to St. Michael's Indian Law School, and he took a year to work at the Nation Office of the Controller. As of right now, he's attending the University of Arizona. He's entering to his 2nd year coming up in the fall. And Adrian is actually an undergrad. We usually do reach out to law students, but Adrian was very persistent. He came into the office, said, I need a job and I want to learn what's going on here. So I definitely appreciated that initiative. So I said, okay, then let's figure out how we can get you here. He is a double major in law and business, and coming in the fall, he would like to add another minor in there, is political science. He plans to attend law school, and after his undergrad,
very ambitious,
really interested in business, corporate law, finance law, and tax law. Definitely, we're going to keep an eye on you, Adrian. Go ahead and let us know what you're working on.
Okay, so as of right now, I just finished.
We're not going to let you leave, Adrian.
I just got finished helping Office of Navajo Tax Commission office with dealing with tax cases that were either open, closed, some that were appealed, and dealing with those documents, as well as outstanding compliance assessments, business activity tax, different taxes, liquor licensing regulations. So on that part, that's where the tax part comes in. And as of right now, I'm in the tax and finance unit. So a lot of it's been going to meetings with ARPA, FRF, OOC, OMB, DCD, and it's really interesting seeing how the funds are going to be moved through the RRR, the revenue replacement
reallocation. Unfortunately, I know that. It's more than I'd like to.
So the meetings are just like containing. We had a meeting yesterday down at INDOT, and we were just going through the resolution CMY-28-24. That one was passed by council, and there was a line veto by the president. So we were meeting on amending the sections of CJY-41-21 and CJN-29-22 and CD-62-21. So it's a lot of interesting topics in how financially and legally, I'm working alongside of Catherine and Brittany. So seeing the financial side of it and then dealing with it legally is very interesting, seeing how one side could say something, but also input legally. We can't do that, but financially they want to.
I agree. I think this is a good time, especially because of the passage of the new ARPA legislation. So it sounds like you're very active in figuring out how to implement that. So we appreciate it. And it falls in line with everything of your goals that you're wanting on there, including your minor you want to add on to there as a political science aspects of it. So definitely.
That's great. And you're at University of Arizona, so you have Native Nations Institute there. You should definitely, you're probably highly engaged. Joe Calt, oh my God, if you can spend time hanging out with Joe Calt and Stephen Cornell, you should do dinner with them once a week or do lunch with them. They're just absolutely brilliant. Wow, I'm really excited for the work that you're going to do, Adrian. That's
I know,
amazing
me
to have
too.
such
I'm
a
excited for
good
what the 5 weeks have to come.
focus. The what?
I'm excited for what the oncoming next 5 weeks have to offer.
That's great.
Where do
And
we have you
now
moving?
you can just come back every summer.
There you go.
Definitely. After my next session, I'm going to Chief Prosecutor's office.
Okay.
Oh,
He's gonna
wow.
Great.
Well, and they have a white collar crime unit that could
Yes.
be like line up with your finance interest. And wow, I mean, really, if you, going back to what I was saying to Paul, if you're interested in financial law in an Indian country, there are very few tribes that are as financially advanced as the nation in terms of having the types of trust fund structuring that we have, and like the ability, like complex investment system that the nation has, the history of finance that we have, the bond rating experience we have, a limited public offering. Very few tribes have public bonds that are out there. Usually they're basically just a loan. So the nation's actually quite sophisticated in its finance side of things. And I mean, there's always room for improvement. And if we were fully staffed, if we could move faster, but interesting to learn, like bring all that knowledge, that training to bear, and like try to understand, because you have to know all that stuff before you can figure out how to speed it up and like lift it to the next level, right? So very cool. Thanks for your interest.
Definitely.
Thank you.
Thank you, Adrian. Like I said, I was so impressed with him walking in and saying, "Hey, I need to work here." So we had to find him a position. So thank you for doing that.
All right, thank
Okay,
you.
so-
I appreciate this opportunity.
Of course. So Elisa is our next intern. Elisa Shirley. She is a student at Navajo Technical University at Crown Point, New Mexico. Her major is a bachelor's degree in law, advocate, and minor, and with a minor in public administration. She's a law advocate, and she is in the legal field. She found it very interesting to be able to assist the variety of the different clients that we have. And what I wanted to go ahead and share with Elisa is that she applied to actually be one of our legal secretaries. And I was looking at her resume and where she was at. And I told her, I said, you know what? Because she says, I said, well, then why are you applying for a senior? You're almost done with school. Maybe we can get that done and we could look at an advocate position or being able to take the bar. But, like I said, I'm so glad that I said, we have an intern program coming up. So why don't you join that? Let's see where you're at and continue on with school too as well. So Elisa, thank you for taking us up on that and coming in and helping us. You're working in the chapter unit right now. Is that correct?
Yes, I am.
Go ahead and tell us what we are working on.
Okay. Yade Shay, Lisa, Shirley, and Shia Nakai Dinan, Shnonson, Jenny Beshish Chain. I come from Twin Lakes, New Mexico, and yet I applied here, and I'm kind of surprised that Heather remembered me. But yeah, I did apply so I could get some knowledge and just get my foot in the door to see what the how your program was running. I was kind of interested in that, so that's why I applied. And I look forward to working with, meeting you, Mrs. Branch. And I work with Heather all the time, and I kind of bounce. I ask her for some help most of the time, but I'm in the chapter unit, and my job for being here for the 4 weeks was to find a resolution for tribal actually chapter officials, chapter delegates, so they don't file protection orders against one another. It's kind of going back to having the balance and harmony within the chapter unit, the chapters on the Navajo reservation. So that's what Mr. Begay had me be doing.
I think
wow,
that's
really, really important. Very important work that you're working on, because it really goes to stability in government, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, we've seen just a shift in politics even nationally in the last 5 to 10 years. And we're seeing similar things happening at the local level. Oh, 1 second, I'm going to unmute.
Well, I
Okay.
also think it's important too, is that it's nice to go ahead and have people from Navajo Nation going to school and completing on Navajo Nation, because those are the experience that you have is you're familiar with chapters, you're familiar with communities. That way, when you're there to help them, they're more engaged because you're part of the community. So thank you for taking on that role in the chapter unit, and definitely
You're welcome.
when you are going to be graduating, like I said, you wanted at your interview, you wanted to have more experience of what was going on, the substance of the Department of Justice. Our assistants are very knowledgeable because they help us run things through, but I figured that you would have a better understanding if you came in as an intern first, to see and get an experience of that. So thank you for taking me up with that offer.
I think you're right. It's amazing to be here among the interns. I'm kind of learning a lot from them. They tell me things. So we're kind of, teaching each other what we know and where we're at. So I enjoy it.
Great. Thank you.
Mhm.
Our next intern is Jarwin. Jarwin, he has a passion for public service. He does have a military service too as well. His undergrad degree is experience in corporate world and the volunteer work on Navajo. He stated solidifies his decision on getting a law education would strengthen an opportunity to help people. And he's interested in further policing, helping with vulnerable people. He is actually doing an internship with the Office of the Prosecutor. And is Jarwin, are you up now? Okay, so Jarwin actually wasn't originally hired. He was originally hired directly with the Office of the Prosecutor. We were hoping to highlight him. But let's go ahead and move to Najoni. Najoni McDermott. She's a proud Navajo woman, and she has her membership. She's actually a daughter of a U.S. Army soldier. Najoni has lived in 8 states over the years, but she currently resides in California, where she is a rising 2L at UC Davis School of Law. Her decision to intern at the Navajo Department of Justice stems for her passion for advocating for the Native American community and specifically her own people, Navajo Nation. That's why she wanted to go ahead and return back to Winter Rock. Najoni, I'll go ahead and let us know what you're working on.
Yatehe, I'm Najoni. I'm currently working in the Human Services and Government Unit, and I previously reviewed a memo of understanding between the Indian Health Services and Navajo Nation. This involves understanding federal requirements under the Homeland Security Presidential Directive, which mandates that IHS employees and contractors may only obtain a personal identity verification access card after passing a background investigation, just to ensure safety and security for those who have access to these facilities and networks. And then in addition to that, I am also currently contributing to a personnel matter by reviewing reports for compliance with the Navajo Nation Travel Policies and Procedures Manual. And I also just want to say that I really have enjoyed my first 3 weeks here, learning from experienced attorneys and getting to make friends with the other interns, and then also just contributing to impactful work. So I just can't thank the Deputy Attorney General enough for bringing me here, and everyone at the Navajo DOJ for being welcoming.
So definitely Najoni, we interviewed her at the University of Utah, some of the programs that they did, and really great. And I said, at the time we weren't taking applications, but we were just kind of introducing our programs to those out there. Right off the bat, she submitted her resume. And so we actually missed communications of when the applications were coming in. And I think that the last day that the applications that were open, I ran into her over in Phoenix at ASU. And I'm like, did I get your application? And she made mention that she sent her resume. So I asked her to fill out the application. Let's get her processed so she could go ahead and come back to the Navajo Nation and help us out too as well. So definitely excited that she was on top of that and just submitted it really quickly. So definitely thank you, Najoni. I'm so excited to have you here.
Najoni, I'm sorry, I was a little distracted. Had a little airplane incident here and with my son. But remind me what your area of interest is?
Just interested in Indian law, just in general.
Just generally. Okay. Are you like more interested in litigation or transactional or governmental
I'm open
work?
to just like exploring, but I will be in the litigation unit for my next couple of weeks, so I'm looking forward to that.
Oh, wow. Okay, great.
So
Well,
we
thanks
thought
for joining us. We're very happy to have you.
Yeah. So we thought HSGU was a good spot for her because of her wanting to have an understanding of where just jumping into the government area. And of course, HSGU is one of our biggest units that handles our government in general. So I'm glad that you're enjoying yourself and assisting our unit in that area. So we're excited for you to join litigation next couple weeks. So thank you.
Thank you.
Our next intern is Brandon. Brandon James. He is from Fort Defiance, and he currently lives in Kitlachi, Arizona. He has education undergrad and bachelor's degree from Navajo Technical University, where he has studied Dene culture, language, and leadership. And he is currently enrolled with Grand Canyon University, and he's going to be doing his master's in criminal justice with an emphasis on legal studies program. As you can tell, we did invite some undergrads that were or master's degrees that have an emphasis of law, but they're not necessarily law students. And I think that was a great choice on our part. Brandon, you're at the prosecutor's office. If you can go ahead and let us know what you're currently working on.
Hi, everybody. I'm Brandon James, born Kia'ani, born Fort Sinajini, and I do reside in Fort Defiance, originally from Beige Buteau, but also live in Kimlachi. So I am over here at the prosecutor's office, and it's been very busy since I've gotten here, and I'm just like really amazed with all the work that these people do. Currently, right now, I guess in real time, what we're focused on is the Title 17 amendments. So looking at the Title 17 and really getting, I guess, familiarizing myself with it, it really does reflect a lot on, the teaching from back then. And I like to put it in a sense of the inherent rights of governing back when we had war chiefs, peace chiefs, how they would, like the stories go, they would keep communities in line with, being cordial and behaving the proper ways, and if there was a situation that would arise, peace chiefs would go in and ensure that they would create peace, so that people go on and live their lives. So that's kind of what I've seen. It does correlate with. So right now, for the past 3 weeks, we've been meeting almost every day regarding Title 17 and the amendments, and basically just consist of strengthening language. Like, for example, earlier there was one area under that involved, what was it? Like a gun, loaded weapon. So in that section, it stated, unloaded or loaded. So they were trying to figure out a way to where they don't have to say loaded or unloaded, to where they can probably just say something like just a weapon in general. So that is kind of like a tedious task that I've been witnessing, is strengthening language so that it's more understanding and more, I guess, to make it where people can comprehend it best. So that's what I've been seeing from this process of Title 17 amendments.
That's exciting. I think that's
Wow,
definitely important. Oh, go ahead, AG.
I mean, like really, really important work and something that has been in the works for 3 administrations now.
Right.
And hopefully can get to a close very soon. It's very needed. All of those changes are really needed. But really, you come hang out with Rod Begay, our chapter unit AAG. In fact, maybe you should go to the meeting on Monday, the work session that he's doing on Title 26, which is about the Local Governance Act, because that act was designed to facilitate implementation of traditional governance at the local level with the war chiefs and the peace chiefs. And so that'll be super duper interesting. I actually did my substantial paper for grad school and law school on Navajo governmental reform, and kind of like advanced a national government structure that would better reflect our traditional model of governance and eliminate some of the disputes between chapters and central government. So super, super interesting. And glad that learning about all of that, and we certainly need folks like you working in Navajo government to provide solutions to our challenges, particularly by drawing on traditional governance. So we're so happy to have you with us, Brandon, and I'll see you next week. Be at the work session.
Where I'll be next is the chapter unit.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to be the next unit to be a part of. So
Deputy
I guess
is so brilliant. She already figured all this. She's like anticipated everything in advance.
There is a method to my madness. But you know what? He's also going to be attending the Title 17 next week with you, AG, and he's actually doing a presentation there too as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So I'm excited because especially with our interns coming in, they're not only helping, but they're also bringing the knowledge that they have on the outside and what they're learning in at school in order to go ahead and bring that forth. And I believe that, you know, especially his knowledge of traditional values is helpful. We did talk a little bit about the challenges because we are wanting to reform Title 17 for the benefit of the nation, but we also have the different departments that are working. Kind of seems like it's against each other because they are going to. They feel like they represent something in between the criminal justice department. So it's a good conversation. It's a good that not everybody is agreeing and going along, that there is that conversation. So he's finding that out, that there is some have stronger feelings on others regarding the criminal process. But we talked about it, and I really appreciate the conversation that we had, because he's understanding about, oh, these are the challenges that we see in our government. At all different sides. So I'm excited that he's going to be going. So AG, let me know how his presentation goes when he's there.
It's so unfortunate that our peacemaking system doesn't really work. Like, it's not really functioning as a court like the way it should. Because like that's what I'm observing in the struggle over Title 17 and the amendments, you know, because it's like on the law enforcement side, we have, you know, pretty violent offenders and they're not getting held accountable.
Yeah.
But, you know, what you always hear from the judges is, well, we don't want to criminalize our people. And, you know, public defender, of course, is like, well, we don't want to, again, criminalize our people. And most of the crimes are related to poverty, and basically you're criminalizing poverty. But if we actually could send these cases to peacemaking, like when I was a public defender, what am I saying? God, not a public defender. But when I was doing pro bono work and I was like, hey, my guy just like, he has a drinking problem. And like, if we just address that, then we can address like all of his repeat offenses. Can we do peacemaking and have him have a plan for how to address his substance issues? and maybe like it could be like in collaboration with his family and like be long-term sustainable in terms of a solution. But I was always told like we don't utilize peacemaking until the sentencing phase. And I was like, but then like that doesn't make sense to me. Like, why aren't you trying to solve the problem on the front end? And it's just unfortunate that peacemaking has been kind of relegated to its very limited role in our judicial system, because honestly, I don't really think the judges want to like do the Western model. They really want to so we're kind of like stuck in a little bit of paralysis.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Lots of problems in governance. But Brandon, you're in the thick of things, and yeah. Hey, you're not related to Bowden James, are you?
I don't think so.
Right. The name was kind of similar, so I was like, I think I'll just ask.
Yeah.
Oh no.
If we can, let me go ahead. We have one more intern, Cameron, but he's not able to join us today, unfortunately. But I wanted to go ahead and highlight him. He's Cameron Washburn, and he's from Mesa, Arizona. He is Navajo, and he's attending the ASU Law in the downtown Phoenix. He's working in the Economic and Community Development Unit. And then in his next section in July, he'll be working with Human Services and Governments Unit. He's interested in real estate and corporate law, and he came to DOJ because of the contacts that he made with one of the assistant attorney generals. And being Navajo, it made it a unique opportunity to work for my tribal government. He said he's grateful for the opportunity to develop his skills this summer at the Navajo Nation Department of Justice. So he's working on some intellectual property code, assisting ECDU and doing that too as well. So that's basically all of our interns. That's quite a bit of them. I'm wondering, is there any way we can go ahead and get them all like on the, what is that, the family bunch, so we can have them all pictured?
Brady Bunch.
Brady Bunch. So everybody can go ahead and see the work that they're doing.
Okay, everyone, we're all going to start the song. No, just kidding.
And we'll look down at each other, and then the next person sings. But no, we're definitely appreciative of our internship program. We appreciate the president's initiative to say, hey, I want the Navajo Nation to have all the an internship program, a robust one. So I definitely appreciate President's initiative to do that. And we definitely heard the call, and I'm proud to see that we do have our 10 and 11, actually 11 total interns, and we look forward for them to have the experience and gain, but I also told them that we look and we need your guys' help, and they've all stepped up. I think they're a great bunch of people. They go with the flow, and I think that's valuable because a lot of things don't happen the way things planned. We need those problem solvers. We need, as an attorney, be a part of the problem solving and solution. I think that also makes everybody a successful lawyer or an attorney or student or anybody in life. So I'm pretty proud of each and every one of them. And so thank you for that. AG?
Yeah. Well, I'm just curious. You all are very impressive interns, and I'm so thankful that you chose to spend your summer with Navajo Nation Department of Justice. And any reflections so far on what your experience has been like? Maybe each of you could offer something that a reflection, or have we met your expectations? Have we exceeded it? What's something interesting that you've learned since you've been here?
I guess
we can go in order. Max, yeah.
I think for me, I'd say I definitely has met my expectations. It's been really, I think, interesting seeing kind of the Navajo Nation's twist in the tribal law, how that intersects with the natural resource and environmental law. Because I just think that the Navajo Nation takes a very different approach than you see from some state governments and things like that. So it's been very interesting to kind of learn about that and kind of see ongoing things.
Yeah, awesome. Very cool. Monique?
I think the most important thing that I've learned so far is fundamental law, so Ani, and how we integrate that within our legal system through the customary law, traditional law. That's been really fascinating, and that's the highlight, I think, out of this whole thing that I've learned from the chapter unit.
Awesome. Very cool. Paul?
I think one interesting thing I've learned is the diversity of law that goes into a single federal Indian law issue.
Yeah.
Like, I'm probably researching 12 different areas of law, DOT, consumer law, unfair practices. There's a lot that goes into it. So it's been very fun and interesting to navigate those avenues.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely fun and interesting. From my perspective, I like to have a checklist to stay on task and efficient. So for me, it's kind of frustrating because it's like, I gotta people are like, why does everything take so long at DOJ? And it's like, well, to you as the client, you think it's this discrete little issue, but I have to pull in 3 AAGs and then they have to pull in, 1 or 2 people on their team. And then we filter the issue through, to make sure that everything's covered. We fully thought through the issue. We're not creating liabilities, unanticipated liabilities for the nation. And sometimes it requires outreach to outside counsel, like if it requires specialized expertise. So it's just these things. It's hard for me to check things off my list, is what I'm trying to say. So, but yeah, thanks for that reflection, Paul. Adrian?
Yeah, definitely exceeded my expectations, especially going to Twin Arrows and attending
Hitchhiking to get to the last mile and
attending the Bar Association conference. That was really interesting seeing the different presentations and how council is involved with certain projects. And one thing I really found interesting was the intellectual property presentation. So I really took that one into consideration, but also other ones were very interesting as well.
Well, I'm glad we exceeded your expectations there, and not in terms of being,
Exactly. Someone said it for weeks coming.
You were like, really? I have to hitchhike my first day.
Yeah, that was experience. We had trauma bonding probably.
It was all engineered. Very Najoni?
I feel like it's been super meaningful, especially getting to attend the bar conference, but then also every week we get to attend different presentations. And we just recently learned about federal Indian law and had a presentation on that. So I feel like it's been super informative and I'm learning a lot.
That's great. Yeah. I wish I got the invites to these enrichment things because I'd like to sit in on some of it. But that's great. And I'm deputy, like I said, always 10 steps ahead. Great. Brandon?
Same here. The same experiences of everybody. It's really like an eye-opening, again, experience to be here. And from the beginning when this internship started, it's always that thing where you're nervous and you don't know what's coming. But then as I got to kind of ground myself, it's closer here to home and I'm going to be around my people also. And I do find the Navajo Nation government to be, one of my interests. So that's kind of what got me going. And again, presentations are very informative, just like Najoni said. And one thing that I seen that came up like almost every time when someone presented was the frameworks of our Diné philosophy. And, back when I was doing my undergrad to now, I've seen so many presentations that involved our 4 sacred mountains, Sa'anagibik Akwajon, and, the whole Shapik Eko going in clockwise, never going, counterclockwise. So those were some of the really nice things that I've been witnessing so far also. So I'm just intrigued to and for what comes next.
Cool. Thanks, Brandon. Sydney?
Okay, well, there's been lots of cool things for me. I've loved learning about Navajo culture. I feel like it's been a storm of Navajo culture. I love it. I also was really excited to take this job because I actually decided that I wanted to do water law because of learning about issues with the Colorado River, and I thought it sounded super interesting, and this job has definitely met my expectations. I find it so exciting and so interesting, and you're actually getting to make a difference in the lives of people.
That's awesome. Thank you. Jordan?
So I feel like as I get ready to start my last year of law school, I have a bit of stress about what I actually want to do after I graduate. And I think like my idea has been I would like to work in-house for a tribe and work on water settlements and water rights. And this is just like really solidified it. And I don't know, I feel like I have found the place that I want to be after I graduate, like doing this work. And I really love that, like the variety of things we're getting to do, how much we interact directly with community members. And just, I think like the environment of the office is really wonderful as well.
Yeah, we have an awesome team here for sure. And yeah, that's so great. I love that you're getting out in the community and meeting the people. And, you know, a lot of times that's one thing that I always like challenge my attorneys with is it's so easy to kind of be in this bubble in Window Rock and like forget about the daily struggle of our people. And so I try to kick my attorneys out of Window Rock whenever I can and get them out at the grassroots level and, you know, like seeing the daily struggle that our people have for basic things and like help remind them how that's why we're here. That's why your work is so important. And particularly with water, you know, to make sure that our people have access to those things, those basic living things, and the opportunity for a better life, an easier life in terms of the daily stuff so that they can perform like other aspects of their life can be more full and rise to a higher level. So cool. I'm glad you're getting a good experience in that regard. And we'll have to think about some other additional experiences that'll get you guys out at the community level. Elisa?
Hi. For me, I think it's the mentorship. I'm learning a lot from the chapter or department. Mr. Begay, he seems to be engaged and teaching me how to do the research and litigation, building my confidence in what I look at and how I should, you know, look at it from all different angles. So I'm thankful to be a part of this program. And I, you know, like I said, it's going to give me a better understanding of how the Navajo Nation laws and codes are used within all the legal situations that you guys have.
Yeah. And I think that's like what you mentioned, confidence. For the young lawyers I've seen be most successful, they have a very high level of confidence. And like, that's not something you can really teach people. So I would just encourage you guys, like in your work, you know, approach it with confidence. I know you're young and you're new, but, you know, if you've really researched an issue and feel very strongly that your interpretation is correct, you know, bring that confidence to your work. And I mean, you guys are all going through rigorous training programs. You're going to take a bar exam before you go out to practice. And even though you're young and you're new, definitely have that confidence because that's what your supervisors are looking for you to have in your work as well. Like, so, and because you've been trained and you've been tested, and you're capable of doing the work, even though it may be new to you. So, wow. Well, it's so great, guys. And then we're going to do a little Brady Bunch wave thing here at the end. I'm going to get you guys on video. So let's all wave. Say goodbye to all our viewers. Thanks, everyone, for joining. Please all consider joining our intern program. And I look forward to working with you guys for the next 4 weeks. Go on, Ed.